everyone, Raul here. In today's video we're gonna build an amazing gallery which is gonna have a masonry layout, so you will see images will just have the same width and variable heights, and it will give us this amazing pattern that we have right here. On top of that, we're also gonna add a filter section, so if you just want to see images from one category, you can click on any of these buttons at the top. So let's say portraits, or let's do weddings, and it will show us all the images that that have the wedding category. So let's get started. First, I have an HTML file here. I've added some information before. So first thing, I have a link tag to the Roboto font family. I got it from Google Fonts. I will leave a link in the description below so you can also get it for this project. Then I linked the style.css, which just contains a few comments with the colors I'm gonna use so I can copy them later. And then I have two JavaScript files. The first one is called data.js and has information about all the filters and about all the images. And the second one is called main.js, and this one is empty right now. We're gonna add our JavaScript code in this one. Let's look a little bit at data.js first. So it contains two arrays of objects. First one is called categories and has objects with two keys. One is the name that we're gonna put in the pills right here, and the second one is the filter. We're gonna use this as an ID so we can filter the images after that. Okay, and the second array contains information about each image. So we have an ID. You can do whatever unique ID you want here. Then we have a URL, which is just the name of the image from the images folder. So I have an images folder right here with multiple images that I got from unsplash.com. Then we have a category, which has to be one of these filter keys from the categories array. And then we have a title, which we're gonna add to the alt attribute of that image tag. The nice thing about this implementation is that if you want to add a new category, you just go here and add a new object. So let's say we're gonna add a new object here, which is gonna be called birds, and the filter name is gonna be birds. And you will have a new filter in here. So this is a different project that I prepared. That's why the filter won't appear here even if I refresh. But you will see we will have the birds filter in our project. The same thing goes for images. Want some more images? Just add a new object to this array with these information right here. Technically, you could also skip the array, as we will not actually use it in this project right now, but I have added it here just so it looks more similar to an array of images that you receive from an API or from any backend that you use. But we will not be using it today. Okay. So before we go on with this, you will find in the description a link to my GitHub account. There will be a branch called Starter. In that branch, you will be able to code exactly this setup that I have right here. So we can go on from there, or just download the images and the data.js if you want to do that and set up the rest of your project by yourself. Great, so let's get coding. First thing we're gonna do here is add the markup for our page. So we're gonna have three simple elements because we're gonna add most of them from JavaScript. So first thing is an h1 with the class of title. It's gonna say filterable gallery. Then we're gonna have a div with an ID of filter container. Nothing in it because we're gonna add the filters from the JavaScript. And the same thing for the images. It's gonna be a gallery container. So in this gallery container, we're gonna add the images. Great. So let's go to the JavaScript file and do all those things. First thing, we're gonna add an event listener for the DOM content loaded, and we're gonna call a function. So this function will run after the HTML and CSS have completely loaded, just so we don't run any JavaScript code before that. Okay, now let's get the DOM elements first. So the filter container and the gallery container. So we're gonna have document.querySelector filter container, and then we're gonna have the gallery container. This is gonna be document.querySelector gallery container. Great. So we have these two DOM elements. Now the next thing we have to do before we go any further, let's open this HTML file with live server. It's an extension that you can get from the extensions tab in VS Code, and it will let you create a development server for your page. It will open on port 5500, and this way, if you make changes in any of your files and you hit save, it will automatically refresh your page. So we're going to use that. Let's make the page a little smaller. Good. So we have opened it with live server. Let's go on. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use this categories array to create the DOM elements for each of the pill buttons you saw before. So we're gonna do categories.forEach, and we're gonna get an element here. Okay, so for each of these elements, we're gonna create a DOM element, which is gonna be document.createElement. It's gonna be a span. And now we're gonna add this span to the filter container with append child, and we're gonna append the DOM element. We're gonna do some more to this DOM element. Okay, so nothing happened now, but if I go into the developer tools and inspect this filter container right here, let me just make it a little bigger. You can see we have 6 span elements, exactly the number we have here in the categories array. Now let's do some more to this span element. So first thing we're gonna do is add some inner text, which is gonna be the element.name. That's why we added the key to that object. See, now we have DOM elements for each of these names. Next thing we're gonna do is to that DOM element, we're gonna add a class list so we can style it. It's gonna be filter element. And now we need to have a default selected element. For me, I'm gonna choose the all element because I want to have all images visible at the start. But if you want, you can choose differently. here we're gonna do a check if the element.filter is all, so the filter text for the all element. If so, then we're also gonna add a class list to this DOM element called filter active. And now you see we have a filter element on all spans, but filter active is only on one. We're gonna move this class when we click on a button. We're gonna move this class on that button. Great. Now the next thing we have to do is add an ID so we can identify which of these spans is clicked. So we're gonna add DOM element.id is gonna be element.filter. So this filter text right here. And now if we look, we have an ID on each of them. Great. The last thing we have to add here is an event listener for click, and we're gonna call the filter images function. We didn't actually create this function yet, so let's just create it so we don't have an error. We're gonna fill it in after a little bit later. So now if we go to the console, we just have this. I have this error. It's because some setting in or some extension in my browser. You can ignore that, but we don't have any errors regarding this filter images. Okay, so we have these right here. We are calling a function. Now let's do the same with the images. So we're gonna get the images array, and we're also gonna do a for each. We're gonna get the element, and now we basically have to do the same thing, but create an image instead of a span and fill in some different attributes. So the DOM element is gonna be document create element image. Now the DOM element src, we're gonna set it to element.url. Well, actually it's not gonna be element.url, it's gonna have to be a string template. We're gonna do images and then element.url, and let's see if this works. We're gonna do gallery container, append child, and add the DOM element here. And you can see we got some really huge images. If we also inspect the elements tab, we have a lot of images right here. Okay, one thing I want to do before we go on, for now I'm gonna add some styling to the image tag so we can see them better, so it doesn't look so ugly. I'm gonna make the width of 100%, so it's 100% of our viewport. Great. Now let's add some more details to this DOM element. So first thing we're gonna do is add an alt tag, which is gonna be element.title. Okay, the next thing we have to do is add some way of identifying which category each image is. That's why we're gonna add a custom data attribute. You're gonna see how that looks. It's gonna be called category, and it's gonna be element.category. Now let's look how that custom data attribute looks. Here in the gallery container, you can see now that each image has this data category attribute. So if you want to create some custom data elements, you can get them this way. It has a data set attribute on each DOM element, and then the key is what comes after the data dash. Good. Now to style these images, we're also gonna add a class list that's gonna be called gallery image. And that's about it. Good. Now, the last part of our JavaScript is to add the actual filter functionality. So we have this filter images function. It's gonna take the event, and we have to do several things with this event. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna change this active class on this filter active class. We're gonna put it on the right element. So we're gonna do first thing, let's get all the filters. So we're gonna do document.querySelector all, and we're gonna get the filter elements with the class. Okay, now for each of these elements, let's get the element. Okay, so now we have to on this element we're gonna do element.classList.remove, and we're gonna remove filter active. The thing is, we have to do it this way because we don't know on which element the filter active class actually is. At first we know it's on all, but after that we don't know on which element it will be. So we remove it from all of them, and then on the next step we go into event.target. So the event.target is going to be the span element on which we clicked, and we're gonna add the class list filter active. So let's see if that worked. So if we click on portrait, it removes the filter active from all and puts it on portrait. So the first part of this works. Now let's go further. The next thing we have to do is actually filter the images. For this, we're gonna check if we're actually gonna select all the images. So we're gonna get the gallery images, and then we're gonna do a for each. Okay, so now on these images we're gonna check if the event.target.id, because we set an ID on each of these filter elements, if that ID is equal to the element.dataset.category. Actually, if it's not equal, then we are going to add a class list to that element called hide image. Else, if the image matches our filter, then we're gonna remove that class list called hide image. So to show you how this works, we have this gallery container here. Let me make it bigger so you can see. And you can see if let's say if I go to landscape, then all the images that have the data category landscape will just have the class gallery image. The other ones will also have the category hide image. We're gonna use this category to just display, to not actually display those images. Great. So the only thing that we still have to handle is the all case, because right now no image has the data category all. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add an end, and we're going to check if that element.dataset.category is not equal to all. So if it's not equal to all, then we can hide some images. If we have the actually not the element category, but instead the event.target.id, sorry. So if the filter that we clicked on is the all filter, then we don't care, we don't want to hide any images, we just want to remove the hide image class from all the images. And let's see if that works. So we have, now let's filter, let's do, just leave the portraits. So we got the hide image class on these landscape images, and if we click all, then we can check that no image has the image hidden category. Good, so this works great. Now the only thing that's left to do is actually add a little bit of styling to this this application so that it looks nice. So let's first, I'm gonna remove this styling for the image tag, and let's do some basics first. I'm gonna do on all the elements a margin of 0, a padding 0. Great, so this will remove any padding that we don't like, because I want it to look nice. Then on the body, we are going to do a background color that's this color here at the top, with like that. So that's gonna be the body, and also a font family of Roboto and sans serif. And Roboto is the font family that I added here in this link tag. Great. Now let's do the title next. So the title is gonna have a background color. That's gonna be the second color at the start of our CSS. This is the background color, and the color will be white. We're gonna do a padding of 12 pixels all around, and text align center. Just some basic basic styling. We don't want to do anything too complicated to it. The next thing is the filter container. Now on this filter container, we're gonna use display flex. We're gonna align the items center and also justify the content center, and use flex wrap. So if the the elements exceed the allowed width, they will go on to the next row. That's what flex wrap does here. Also, we want a padding of 12 pixels all around. Okay, so this is it for the filter container. Now let's style the filter element actually. The filter element is gonna have a background color of the same blue that we used for the title, a color of white. We're gonna do padding of 12 pixels and 24. Let's do a border radius of 20 pixels so we get these pill shapes, and then let's also add some margins of 6 pixels in every direction. What that flex wrap is gonna do, if we make it smaller, you see one of the tags goes to the next line. And also let's set the cursor pointer so the user knows it can click on them. Great. Now let's do filter active. This is gonna be the class that is set on one element that is currently the active filter. For this, we're just gonna do a background color of this color right here, 278 EA5. Okay, let's leave it like that. And also to the filter element, I want to do a hover effect with the background color and set it to a more opaque version like this with an A at the background. So if we hover, we get that transparent color. Great. Now the only thing that we have to do right here is the only thing that's left is to style this gallery container and also the gallery image. So on the gallery image we're gonna put width 100% for the moment, just so we can see them better. And then let me just check. Okay, so on the gallery container, let's add a width of 90%, then a margin of 0 auto to center it in the middle. And now for that masonry grid layout that you saw, because now the images look like this. So they are full width. We're gonna use a property called column count, and we're gonna say it has 3 columns, and we're also gonna add a column gap, let's say 8 pixels. Let's try it like that. Let's see how that looks. It's a little bit too small. Let's try 0.5 rem. Okay, that looks pretty good. So you see we get that masonry effect and everything looks nice. Great. So one thing I noticed here is that these images don't actually need just a little bit more border at the bottom. So for each of the image we're gonna add a margin bottom of also 0.5 rem to make them symmetrical. Okay, this looks pretty good. One thing I want to do, because if I make it small, you see it doesn't look that nice. It's too small. If you want, you can leave it like this and you will have the small images. But I want to also add a media query for max width of, let's say, 920 pixels, and on that we're gonna change the styling for the gallery container. We're gonna decrease the column count to 2. See, it looks a little bit better. We still have that that masonry grid. We can now wait, I forgot the hide image styling, because you can see now we get the filters but no images disappear. So the last thing we have to do here is we're gonna style this hide image class. So hide image, actually, to be more specific, to be sure that this always has priority on top of others, we're gonna say display none on it. So now this works nicely. We can change the filters here. Good. So we have a finalized masonry grid gallery here with a filter section. It looks pretty nice. You can add as many images as you want using this data file right here. Also as many filters as you want, because it's really easy. Just add a new object right here. Great. So thank you everyone for joining. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. I always like to see all the comments, all your opinions on these videos. Subscribe to the channel for future content. And if you want, come and hang out with me on Twitter. The link's in the description below. Thank you and have a great day.